So we've had Arwen. We've then had ones with B and C, but I can't remember the names of those. We had Dudley on Wednesday, and Eunice on Friday, and possibly Franklin today. So all the names of the storms that have been coming to us. And I wonder how we just feel as we go through those storms. I wonder how you felt on Thursday, or particularly perhaps Friday morning, when we woke to know that this area was in a red warning area. Could it be that we feel that the warnings are just too much? Although perhaps in Wendover itself there wasn't particularly much damage. We know from the television and the radio that there's been quite a bit of damage. Fairly dramatic to see the top of the O2 dome being shredded by the wind. But I remember the storm in 87 when we had no warning at all, and woke up to find trees all down the road of the road that I was living in at Wembley at the time, and no power at all. So we know that we're living with storms a lot more than we perhaps have. And the storm that we hear about in the Gospel is not just in Luke, but we also hear about it in Matthew and in Mark. When I did RE back at Bolton Comprehensive, which I tell you is a long time ago, my A-level RE teacher was Mr. Kirkland. I won't do the Scottish accent, but he was a Methodist lay preacher, and actually just lived along the road for us. But he taught RE, and the one bit that I really remember him telling us about was the Sea of Galilee, and the effect of the wind, the way that the sea is, I found out that it's 682 feet below sea level. It's in a bowl-shaped valley. And when the wind picks up, it's often coming from across the hills from Galilee, if it's coming from the west. If it's coming from the north, it's coming off the Lebanese mountains. And if it's coming from the east, it comes from the desert winds. And so, in fact, it was that Jesus chose a place to demonstrate his power over the wind and the wave. So, presumably at that time, they knew what happened. But as so often happened with the disciples, they had no idea what was going on. They were obviously really scared and saying, Master, Master, we are going to drown with this wind and the effect that it's having on us. We know that Jesus teaches in parables. And in Luke, there's lots of parables, the Good Samaritan, lots others that you will know. And he then will go on to explain them. The disciples are the people that Jesus is explaining everything to. They're the ones who want to know and to understand. And so they're about to see something that will have a huge impact on their faith. So I wonder how you felt on Friday. Certainly I sat in the vicarage and thinking, well, there's blue skies, it's all very quiet, is it really going to come? And as the morning carried on, well, the wind built up. Did keep looking at the chairs in the garden to see if they were going to fly out. But we had that calm. And as the beginning of this parable, this story, Jesus was exhausted. He'd been teaching and he wanted to get away from the crowds. He knew that a storm was coming, but he wasn't concerned, so he went off to sleep. As the storm built up, Jesus continued to be calm. Although there would have been a violent gust of wind, obviously worried the disciples, he knew that he could trust in the storm. And if he could encourage them to trust, then it would increase their faith. After the storm, again, like Friday, there was the calm. I think it was about 3 or 4 o'clock that I looked out again and realised that the trees had stopped blowing quite as much as they had. We would all be questioning, has it gone? What is the aftermath of this storm? For the disciples, having had Jesus get up and rebuke the wind and the waters when the storm subsided and all was calm, the wind and the sea recognized the voice of their Creator, and they responded. And in this parable, Luke is demonstrating that Jesus is the Son of God and has the power over creation. And we heard so much more of that power in the reading that Monica read for us from Revelation chapter 4. After the storm, Jesus continues to teach the lesson that he wanted to teach and says, "Where is your faith?" In fear and amazement, the disciples looked at one another and said, "Who is this who commands even the winds and the water?" Who is this? Well, it's God revealing himself. Here in this gospel, God, in this gospel, who's not only came into the world, God is not only concerned about human suffering, healing, raising from the dead. It is the God who controls the very nature that he created. He created the storm not to chasten them, to make them have faith. We go through all sorts of storms in our lives. Ones that we recognise Jesus to be in, others that we only see Jesus and his presence after we've been through that storm. Do we go to Jesus when we're in the storms of our lives? The only hope that the disciples had was to go to Jesus and to appeal to him. It's okay for us to come to God in the storm, to share our desperation with him, and know that he has power in our lives. We've heard through the Old Testament of Jonah and the storm that he was in when he cried out to God. It's God's purpose to go through the storm. If it's God's purpose to go through the storm for some more time, then God will give us the grace to do that in this period. The storms help us to build our faith. They reveal to us who God is. He is there in the storm. He's there in the calm. And as we, go through our lives, as we look around our country at the moment, our world, and just wonder what storm may be coming across in Russia and Ukraine, we're praying to God to reveal himself and to bring calm into the lives. He is Lord over the storm. God wants us to live a life of faith, a life that is calm, trusting in God, no matter what the storms of life are. Amen. I said last week we'd be giving you more details of Lent, which, believe it or not, starts a week on Wednesday, on the 2nd of March. So on that day, there'll be a service of Holy Communion and imposition of ashes at 8 o'clock. There will be pancakes at the Christian Centre at lunchtime on the 1st, if you'd like to go along for those. There'll be a pancake party here in church at 4 o'clock with lots of little people, and I'm afraid it's already sold out. So that's going to be great. If anybody could come and give a little bit of a hand or make a few pancakes, Nadine would be very grateful for that, because I think we're expecting 36 children, which means quite a lot of adults as well. So if you're able to give a hand, then please either say that to me or get in touch with her. She'd be pleased about that. At the back, as you go out, there's a bookstall. If you saw the update on Friday, you will have seen book reviews of the books that we're recommending and going to be using through Lent here at St Mary's. The first one here is called Be Still, and it's a book which gives you all sorts of suggestions for prayer time and different ways of finding quiet time for yourselves. So it's exploring different rhythms of prayer for everybody. So that is one book that is £8.99. Each year, whoever is the Archbishop of Canterbury has a Lent book written for them. This one is the one for 2022. It's written by Isabel Hamley, who until probably about 18 months ago was actually Archbishop Justin's chaplain, and it's called Embracing Justice. So this is that book with a lovely rainbow on it, and it's reflecting on what justice means to God. It says in this book, Hamley shows how God offers that the same invitation to churches, communities and individuals today is the same as the one in the Bible, where God invited people to join his mission of transformation. So this may be a book that you would like to get and to read. And then alongside that are, each year the Church of England produce books that are called Live Lent. They do one for children that's got a weekly activity in for families. But this time they've produced one that's a 40-day challenge. It goes alongside the Embracing Justice book. So you may not want to buy this tome, but you may want to buy this small booklet, which gives you a short reading and something to be reflecting on for every day. So we've got copies of both of those. And then the final book is one by Andrew Nunn, who is the Dean of Southwark Cathedral. And he's written a book that is called The Hour Is Come. It's based on Holy Week. And again, bits for you to be reading each day through Holy Week at different times. So a passage, something to reflect on, and a prayer. And I'm quite sure that this one will be very accessible to read. So there are those books. There are one or two others. There are some Easter story books, if you've got grandchildren, that you would like to be giving those to. So Julie's going to be at the back. You can take a slip that's got our bank details on and do a bank transfer, or you can put the cash into an envelope, take the book, Julie will take your name, and pop the money into the office during the week. So please do take this opportunity to buy something that's going to take you through Lent. And there will be some talks on Zoom. There will be a Lent group on Zoom, as well as on Thursday morning at Communion. We're going to be dipping into this book. So if you're one of the people that comes to that or would like to make that be part of your week, then please do that as well. So lots going to be happening, and we will have a printed booklet of all of that for next week. That's all the churches together, as we normally would do. Sylvia Oram dropped me a note during the week to say, could I tell you that tomorrow there are going to be doing a little bit of filming at the Dementia Cafe. If you remember, just before Christmas, Bishop Stephen came to the deanery, and one of the things he did was to come to St Mary's. Paul talked about the work of Claw, and then Sylvia talked about Wendover Dementia Support. And from that, the person in the diocese who looks at all the social justice work has asked if Sylvia could make a short film about the work happening in Wendover. So that's very exciting. So it's going to be filmed tomorrow, and then it will be available on the website. And when it is, I'll make sure there's a link onto our update. So it's really good that the work of Wendover is spreading around. I think that's all. There was lots on the update. You may well have received an email about signing in to our hub and being able to access more from the website. So if you had that email, go onto it and try logging in. And if you had problems, then shout as well.